Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something big, a major shift happening in global politics. And it's being driven by two really powerful new figures who are basically writing a whole new playbook for conservatism. This is a big deal.
Okay, so let's jump right in with a question. You've got Japan's first female prime minister, Sanae Takaichi, and Italy's first, Giorgia Meloni. What do they have in common? I mean, besides the obvious historic titles. Well, as you're about to see, it's a lot. And it points to a really profound change in how the world is being led.
Turns out, it's more than just a coincidence. They're practically authors of the same political playbook. We're talking about a totally new brand of leadership. It's nationalist, it's pragmatic, and it is completely unapologetic about being conservative. And honestly, it's not just redefining their own countries. It could very well reshape the entire world order.
So to really get what makes these two tick, we've got to look at their ideological core, right? What's driving them? For both Takaichi and Meloni, everything, and I mean everything, starts with a return to what they see as core, essential national values.
You know, this quote from Meloni says it all. I am Giorgia. I am a woman. I am a mother. I am an Italian. I am a Christian. This isn't just a slogan. It's her entire political identity summed up. It's the bedrock of her famous motto, God, Fatherland, Family. And that philosophy, it pretty much shapes every single policy decision she makes.
And then you look over at Japan, and you see this almost perfect parallel. Prime Minister Takaichi, she's out there championing traditional Japanese values, including this concept called Raizai Kenbo. It literally translates to good wife, wise mother. So again, you can see how it reinforces this vision of society that's really centered in traditional, conventional family structures.
So when you put it all together, what you get is this remarkably consistent ideology. For both of them, the way forward isn't about looking outward, it's about looking inward. It's about prioritizing the unique historical, cultural identity of their own nations, pushing back against what they see as globalist or multicultural trends.
Okay, but here's where things get really interesting. This is where their shared playbook kind of diverges. Their social values, totally in sync. But their economic plans, whoa, they are radically different. And that's because each plan is custom built to tackle the very specific, very unique crises their countries are up against.
Let's start with Japan. Takaichi has rolled out what everyone is calling Sanae-nomics. And listen, this is a total break from the old-school austerity playbook. We're talking aggressive government spending, pumping money into the economy to kickstart growth, boost defense, and give direct relief right to families.
And the centerpiece of this whole thing, it's a huge promise, freezing the 8% sales tax on food for 2 years. I mean, that's an estimated 5 trillion yen a year. It's a massive gamble, for sure, but it's aimed squarely at tackling the cost of living crisis that's hitting Japanese families so hard. Meanwhile, you hop over to Italy, and Meloni is dealing with a totally different reality. She calls it dark realism. In fact, she's actually warned her staff that 2026 is going to be much worse than 2025. So for her, it's this incredibly delicate balancing act between providing support for households and trying to manage Italy's just mammoth public debt.
And yeah, let's talk about that debt for a second, because it is absolutely key to understanding the pressure they're under. I mean, look at these numbers. Japan's debt to GDP ratio is around 250%. 250%. Italy's is nearly 140%. That is a mountain of debt. And that constant pressure, it shapes every single choice they make.
Now, you might think with all this intense focus on problems at home, they wouldn't have time for much else. But you'd be wrong. These two are actually building a surprisingly close and really powerful international partnership. It seems they see each other as absolutely essential allies in a world that's changing fast. And this all came together so fast. I mean, it was incredibly rapid. Takaichi takes office in October 2025, and by January 2026, just a few months later, they're holding this landmark summit in Tokyo. It was basically them making their behind-the-scenes alliance official for the whole world to see.
And there was this one little moment at the summit that really shows you the kind of connection they have. Takaichi actually gave Meloni a Hello Kitty plush toy. Now, I know that might sound like a small, kind of cute gesture, but it really underscores the genuine personal chemistry that's driving this very, very serious strategic alliance.
And this friendship is already translating into some really concrete policy. They forged what they're calling a special strategic partnership. And what does that mean? Well, it means working together to secure supply chains for critical stuff like rare earth minerals so they're less dependent on China. It means co-developing next-gen fighter jets. And it means linking Europe and Asia, Japan's Indo-Pacific strategy with Italy's Mediterranean vision, into one big, cohesive security strategy.
So it seems like their power is pretty solid right now, right? But, and this is a big but, their agendas are so ambitious that they come with enormous risks. I mean, they are playing for incredibly high stakes here. And the final outcome? It's really far from certain.
Let's look at Japan. Takaichi is just riding this incredible wave of popularity. Her cabinet's approval rating? A solid 62%. And get this, among young people, 18 to 29, it's over 90%. They call it the Sanakatsu phenomenon. It's all fueled by her persona. You know, she's a heavy metal drummer, a straight talker, and that just resonates so deeply with the younger generation.
But all that popularity doesn't just make the risks disappear. Both of these leaders are walking a very, very fine tightrope. For Takaichi, the big dangers are a fiscal meltdown from all that Sananomic spending, or even a geopolitical conflict with China because of her hawkish stance. And for Meloni, the fear is economic stagnation and a huge democratic backlash over her controversial judicial reforms, which are actually facing a make-or-break national referendum.
And all of this leaves us with one big, provocative question at the end of the day. Are we watching the birth of a totally new, sustainable political model? You know, something that other nations might start to copy? Or is this whole thing just a massive, high-stakes gamble that could throw us into a much more volatile, much more fractured world? The playbook is written, for sure, but the final chapters, they're still anyone's guess.